Hi guys, so we are here at Lake Geneva. It's a Sunday afternoon and it's so nice here. Lake Geneva. And here's the Downtown Lake Geneva map. So we're going to the Riviera. We're gonna ride the boat. I think we're gonna have a boat tour or cruise. Here's the boat tours.
Yep.
And I think this side is the beach. Oh, so that's the beach part. This is the beach part of Lake Geneva. And it's like $8 to go in. So we are walking here, Lake Geneva downtown. Lake Geneva downtown. Lake Geneva. Okay, so we are boarding now. Lake Geneva. So we are riding that boat. I'm in there. Okay, so we are riding this. Okay, so hi.
Hi.
So we're going up now, the boat.
good afternoon, everyone. Just like to have your attention for a couple minutes here for some important opening announcements. So you direct your attention to the bar area. Downstairs can't really do that, but please just kind of hone in here for a couple of minutes. Welcome aboard the Lady of the Lake for this 1 hour Geneva Bay tour. We'll make our way about a third of the way around the lake. My name is Keith, I'll be your captain today, so you'll hear from me for about 2-3 minutes here. And then once we're getting close back to the beer and stuff. As we go around the lake today, two of our tour guides, I think we have Annie and Jenna with us today doing the 2 tours, or giving the tour I should say. They'll be talking about the area. Basically, if you look out on the lake, all these big mansions and stuff, didn't always used to be like that. We're going to talk about how this area came to be. So very historic tour that we're in.
So James here is singing. We're moving.
The first large summer home built out here on the lake was built on the site of that tan home. It was built in 1870 for Shelton Sturgis and called Maple Lawn. He and his brothers were business partners and they each had summer homes in the area. That mansion was torn down just over a decade ago and that new home was built in its place. So right now we're passing a group of homes known as the Geneva Manor subdivision. That was founded in 1926, and there are about 80 homes here, half of which are used year-round. And one of the unique things to note about the Geneva Manor subdivision is that all the architectural styles of those houses are different, and that's mandated by subdivision covenants. So the manor is built on 37 acres of the Levi Z. Leiter estate, which was known as Linden Lodge and dated back to 1879. Levi later became partners with a man named Marshall Field, and together they began into piers, and most of them are painted white. There's no rule or regulation saying that these piers have to be white, so if you look at Pier 20 here, it's a nice tan color. We're not quite sure why they did that. Maybe it was because they wanted to match the home behind it. Maybe it was because they wanted to be different than their neighbors. But here at the cruise line, we like to say that they haven't given in to the peer pressure. They only get better from here, I promise. 1874 for Nathaniel Fairbank, who was president of the N.K. Fairbank Company, which is Chicago's leading manufacturer of soap. The Fairbanks home took up roughly the same area as the first 3 homes in that subdivision, but shortly after it was completed in 1875, it burned to the ground. Thankfully, it was a pretty slowly pool. It was actually used to look an awful lot like the white home to the right of it, till they tore it down and built their home on top of it. Began in the 1880s as a small hunting lodge for architect Henry Lord Gay, and it was originally named Gay Lynn. From 1927 until 1966, Hillcroft, as it was renamed, served as P.K. Wrigley's guest house and then later as his summer residence. This home isn't the original, however, it does incorporate many of the architectural features of the original home, but it's roughly a third of the size. P.K. Wrigley's main residence at the time of his passing. The property was purchased by William Wrigley Jr. in 1911. That home was torn down in 1955, and this new home was completed in 1966. And at the time, it was considered state-of-the-art as everything from the flagpole to the drapery was controlled electronically.
Slide? Is that a big slide? Drink some water. Oh my God. Where you going to? The bathroom.
Sorry. This cream-colored villa with the orange tile roof was the first of several estates built in 1906. It was constructed for Edward F. Swift, the son of Gustavus Swift, founder of the Swift Meatpacking Company. The estate was known as Villa Hortensia, named for Edward's wife Hortense, but more recently the estate has been called Edgewood, and it's a home in New York City, the Capitol grounds in Washington, D.C., and Grant Park in Chicago. This home is a stunning example of Georgian architecture. It was known as Wadsworth Hall and was completed in 1906 for Norman W. Harris of the Harris Trust and Savings Bank in Chicago, which is today known as BMO Harris Bank. In 1920, the estate was purchased by Walden W. Shaw, who was a co-founder of the Yellow Taxi Cab Company in Chicago. It was renamed the Stenning, and an investment advisor named Richard Driehaus. Mr. Driehaus had this property meticulously restored in 1999, and as you can see, it's a truly fine example of this hauled house in the woods. It was constructed in 1906 for Mr. A.C. Bartlett, who was a wholesale hardware distributor and one of the founders of what is today known as True Value Hardware. Because the contractor was busy building the large Swift and Harris homes at the same time, special plans were made to complete this home on schedule. So they went to Delavan, which is just a couple miles away, and borrowed a circus tent from the circus that was kept there in the off-season. That tent was put up on site and heated so the construction could continue through the dead of winter. That home had to be completed on time because it was to be a surprise birthday present for his wife in the spring. So as we go around the lake today, you're going to see a lot of people walking on the shoreline in front of these homes. They're not the owners of these homes, and they're probably not trespassing either. There's a lake path that goes around the entire lake. It's about 3 feet wide, and it goes in front of all of these homes. It's definitely a great way to get up close and see the homes. It's quite the walk, though, so you have to really commit if you're going to do the whole thing. Otherwise, people do it in sections all the time. But to do the whole thing, it's like 8 to 10 hours, somewhere around there, depending on how fast you walk. And I've never done it myself, but I've heard it's lovely. It's that red home.
Now we're passing through an area of the lake known as the Narrows. Pretty cleverly named. It is the narrowest part of the lake, being less than a half mile from shore to shore. You'll notice the property here in the Narrows pretty low lying, and that has to be protected from the expanding winter ice. So there's gates in the outlet located back in the city of Lake Geneva. The Geneva Lake Level Protection Corporation again has to control the lake level to protect the shoreline. So what they do is late in the fall they open those gates and lower the lake several inches to protect it from any ice damage. Then in the spring they close the gates and melting snow fill the lake back up within just a few weeks. There's a grand total of about 1,200 piers out here, and every single one has to be removed before the winter months, again to prevent them from being destroyed by the ice. There's about 6 or 7 companies that specialize the removal of these docks, so as you can imagine, that's a pretty profitable industry here. Original site. This, however, is not the original clubhouse. That was a wooden structure with gabled roofing, but that burned down in a 1915 fire. Probably the reason for the use of so much stone and concrete here at the second building. 63 acres of natural wetland drained and dredged. He then developed this area into the Trinky Estate subdivision. The grassy area behind that large white bridge coming into view was not intended as the front yard to these homes, but that was actually planned as an aircraft landing strip. However, after one plane ended up upside down in the water, another took a few chimneys out with it. They figured out they did not properly calculate power boat. Tower here on Geneva Lake. As we pass by, you're going to get a little bit of a better view of that. It actually lights up at night, shows an accurate time, so that's a pretty neat attribute to that home here. And the white home with all the trees in front is called the Allegheny. That was built in 1925 for Lewis E. Myers. He founded the L.E. Myers Electrical Contracting Company in 1891, which is still in existence today. The Steiberg family of Racine, Wisconsin now owns the Allegheny. They've thoughtfully put this property into conservancy, That reduces the saleable value of the estate, but that prevents any future owners from subdividing this property. Included a drive-through gate lodge with living quarters, a carriage house, a garage, a laundry building, 10 greenhouses, a large animal barn, 2 farm cottages, and 3 chicken houses. Notice I said chicken houses, not coops. They were actually so large that they were later converted into single-family homes. The owners have asked us to remain private, so we do respect their privacy. There's not too much that I know about them. One thing I wish I did know is if they had a son or a grandson, maybe around my age, that's free for dinner tonight. It contains more than 50 rooms and 50,000 square feet. Otto Young began building it in 1899. He originally called his mansion Younglands. Otto Young's father passed away in Germany in 1859, and he and his mother came to live in the United States. When they arrived, though, they were virtually penniless, and he started out by selling costume jewelry out of a push cart in the streets of New York City. After the Chicago fire, he moved there, to where he became a partner in the fair. It's a discount department store today known as Kmart. He also made a fortune in real estate, purchasing Chicago under the burned-down city. Many so-called experts of the time said that the exterior walls are dress Bedford limestone, the floors are hand-laid parquet tile, and the interior walls are Tennessee marble. When completed in 1901, all of the doorknobs...
As we come back into the pier, a couple of requests from myself for you guys. First of all, remain seated during the entire docking procedure. Sometimes we have to do a second or third landing depending on how we tie up the boat. And if everyone rushes downstairs to kind of get near those doors, it makes it really difficult for our crew members to get everything in place. So please remain seated until I come back over the microphone, and once everything is in place,